Well, I want to thank you all for coming out. We actually have a few people who are going to talk, so it's not going to be all me. But what I wanted to start with was I just want to show you some of the latest stuff we have coming out here. I actually have a Tricaster Tc1. This is, of course, our newest Tricaster model, running a beta version of software that is not released yet, although should be really soon. I don't know how real soon is, but I believe very, very soon. If we go another month it's not out, I would be highly surprised. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe even next week it could be out or something. It should be almost any day type of thing. So anyways, I want to go through that and show you some of that stuff, and then we'll have some other people come up. Of course, we'll be there for questions and anything else if anybody wants to, talk and ask questions or whatever. I mean, this is pretty free form. So anybody who's at NAB will have seen some of this stuff already, but this is just a further along version of software, so a little more refined than what we had at NAB, which was admittedly a little rough still. All right, so there's two parts of this software upgrade that will be coming out. There's basically a free portion, and we'll start with that, and then there is a paid portion, and I'll show you some of the features that come in the paid upgrade part as well. So starting out with the free version, one of the biggest changes is we've made some UI adjustments. And you probably see that already because you might be looking at the screen on there and saying, it kind of looks like a Tricaster, but it also kind of looks a little different than a Tricaster. One of the things that we have tried to do in this release is make it more approachable. Tricasters are used, literally from, people in their basements, right? Or churches or schools, new people coming to it who are new to video, have never done anything. We want to make it where it's not like, look at all this stuff and you got to understand it all. We want to try to simplify it. So that's what we've done here. But for the people who are still power users, you can still make it work the way it is, right? Nothing is lost. It's just trying to make it easier for people to approach. So you'll notice that the screen is almost completely a multi-view, all right? And that's one aspect to it. We've kind of, we can turn off that bottom part of the interface and make it where it's more of a multi-view. And this can also be beneficial to people with control surfaces, because if you have a control surface, you don't really need the bottom part of the interface as much. So this gives you more screen real estate for video on there. So there's that. And if I want the main UI up, I can just click at the bottom, bam, and there it is. It's just like a Tricaster normally it is. So with one button click, it goes back and forth between this, kind of more multi-viewish UI and then the standard UI. We've also have a option here, and I'm just going to sit down here so I can see it better myself, option at the bottom here to change out the switcher from a traditional switcher, preview program type workflow, to what's called the express mode switcher. And this is, again, to just simplify it. So you can still choose transitions. We give you 2 downstream keyers instead of 4, again, just trying to make it easier for new people to come and approach the system. And to transition or work, all you do is you just click on what you want, and it does a transition to the clip you want in there. So you'll notice when I click on it, right now it's doing fades, or I could go in here and load in any other transition I want if I want to do like the little twirl type thing in there. And it's just, it's almost like hot punching, but it's doing a transition. And then of course it'd be cuts as well if you wanted to. So there's that. Another thing that's also been added is, and this is something people have asked for, and it's kind of funny because Tricaster actually had this feature way back. It disappeared. It's finally made its way back into the system again, and that is the ability to switch by clicking on the video monitors, right? That's actually something people have asked for many years now, is why can't I just click, if I want input 2, why can't I just click on input 2 and have it go there? And so there is an option in the menus now that's called use monitors for switching. You can see it right here. And now with that on, you just click on it, and it will just transition to that angle. And again, it's whatever transition you currently have loaded, so it doesn't necessarily have to be cuts. It could be any transition you want. Along with this, we do now support touchscreen monitors. So that's really kind of when you start putting this all together, you kind of start to see the ideas of where all these things come together. So you could put this on a touchscreen, and literally I could just be tapping the video and going to those different angles in there. So for people who've kind of wanted that workflow, you can now achieve that workflow with this new version. There's also a few other things in there, because you might be, if you've used a Tricaster, be like, well, okay, I've got this interface, but what about adjusting audio? What about adjusting clips in my DDR? How do I get to those things? Because they're hidden now, right? They're normally at the bottom. And of course, I could always click to get to them, but is that the only way to get to them? And the answer is no. So you'll notice that on every monitor, it's a little hard to see, I'll admit there, but when I put my pointer over it, a little volume control appears, and I can actually adjust the volume level. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little, sorry, let's see if they'll find one. I don't know if you can see on the DDR one in there. There's a little volume control, and I can drag that up and down. So that allows me to adjust the volume level of that particular input. And as well, if you wanted to, for example, load clips in the DDR or rearrange clips in the DDR, we've also changed a little bit about how the panels when you open up are. So the panels used to be, you'd open them and they kind of look like this, but they'd be filled with all the content. And again, trying to make it more touchscreen friendly and trying to reduce down the amount of stuff throwing it all at the user at once, we've gone in and made it a little more Adobe-like, I guess you could say, where when you go in, different panels open up when you click on them that show you those tools so that it's not all blasted in front of you at once. But they're also smart. When I go to open the DDR, there's my DDR playlist, and I can go in here just like I normally would and load in new clips, and I can play them in here. So the basic functionality is in there if I needed it. If I open up an input, for example, input 1, it realizes this is a live video source. This one gives me access to all my PTZ controls, and I can go now and control my PTZ camera. So as I open up the appropriate inputs based upon what kind of things that input is capable of doing, the panel will give me the appropriate tools that allow me to adjust that input. So it's kind of like smart panels, I think, are the terminology we're using for it, but you can go in here and adjust that stuff. All the same settings are in there that were in there before. It's just again trying to streamline it from how it was before. All of that new stuff, again, can be turned on or off as needed. So if you are like, hey, I like the traditional Tricaster interface, I want it to work that way, within a couple mouse clicks, I can turn off or on whatever settings are. At this point now, it works just like a Tricaster did. All right, so, and the nice thing is you can kind of pick and choose in between those two states of, the most simplified or express mode, I guess if you want to call it, to the most traditional. You can pick in between what do I want, like maybe I want the Tricaster standard interface, but I'd like still the monitors for switching. I can have that on while still having the traditional interface. So it's very flexible from that degree. So that's one of the things. So there's a lot of little pieces to it, but again, you can kind of see some major UI functionality changes in there to try to, make it more adaptable to a larger user base out there. A couple other things that are in there. Oh, thank you. Sure.
Can you tell them to put that, the monitors, whatever, can you put that in advanced edition so we can all enjoy it?
Which one?
The one where you click on a monitor.
So let me just say, I don't know what exactly is happening with Advanced Edition, but I can tell you that Andrew Cross, who's our CTO, did say at NEB that some of the functionality will be coming to Advanced Edition. So I don't know. I can't tell you what is and what isn't because I don't know. But he did say that there would be an upgrade to Advanced Edition, and some of the stuff we're seeing here will be some parts of that. Obviously, some of it's going to be based on what an Advanced Edition system is still capable of for that hardware, but so maybe that might be one of them. I don't know at this point yet, but potentially. A few other things that are also in here. There's also, it doesn't look any different, but there is a new version of the LiveMat keyer. So the LiveMat, you can see it's got the same kind of controls in it we had before, but it's now called LiveMat Pro. It's just a new algorithm to produce, better keys, easier, all that kind of stuff. So that's something that is in here. And then another one, and this is more for the people, especially people who do troubleshooting. Our support department will like this, but nonetheless, it's still a nice thing. The Tricaster interface, if you ever get an error or a pop-up during using it, and it appears at the top, and then after about 5-10 seconds, it disappears, and it's like, what did it say? I don't know what it said. It's gone. It is in the log, but it's not easy to get to. Well, we've added a feature in here called the notification system. So you notice up in the corner is this little kind of like, little chat box type thing. If you click on it, this will come in, and now any kind of messages like that, good or bad, errors, warnings, or just even informational messages, all now get cataloged in this window. So if something happened and you didn't get a chance to read it right away, or maybe at the end of the event you want to go take a look and see what it is, or you're talking to support and they're like, well, what did the message say? You can click on the button and now get to that stuff in there. So if I just go in, for example, and hit a key in there, like I just tell me the version number. Before that would appear at the top of the interface. You can see now it just appeared in this little window, and it's there until I get rid of it, or I don't even have to get rid of it. I can just leave it in there if I wanted to. But you have the ability to clear out messages too. So if I don't want to see, whatever, a certain thing, I can go in there and say, I don't want to clear the, I don't want to see what the version is anymore, and just get rid of it. So that's just a nice little thing, is the notification. Again, it's probably for most users not something day to day they're going to deal with, but when they need it, it's nice it's there.
That also, by the way, is in some of the Ndi tools.
Yeah, the notification center you will see is going across our whole line. So a lot of our latest updates of products do have it now. Yeah, the Tricaster is actually the first product I saw with it in there, but now it's been already appearing in other products previous to Tricaster getting out. So those are some of the big things on the free update. So the UI, the new keyer, the notification center. There's some other stuff in there as well, but that's really a lot of the new free stuff that's been added. The other part that comes along with this is what's called premium access. And this is a paid add-on, but it's going to add some new features to it, kind of across the board of different things that, some people might find very useful, and well, hopefully we all find it very useful, but there might be certain ones that you look at and go, I must have that, right? And maybe not all of them. The other thing I just want to point out about premium access, though, is that premium access is that is the branch of software where new features will show up. Right now, today, it's about 5 to 6 new things you get, but 6 months from now, a year now, there'll probably be other stuff with it, right? So this is like, if you want to be on the, hey, I always want the latest and greatest stuff, this is where latest and greatest stuff is going to appear as part of this. And I know it is a subscription thing, and I know different people have different feelings on subscription, but the main idea behind it is instead of us trying to come up with, hey, we've got this feature. It's been ready for the past 3 months, but we have to hold on to it till we get enough features put together so that we can make it like that it's worth for you to buy a software upgrade, right? And then, release them all. It's more the standpoint of when the feature's released, we can release it because everybody on it is basically always going to get the latest as it becomes available. So it's more of a, it's kind of like what Adobe's doing, right? They're just releasing new updates as they go through when you're on subscription. It's trying to do that same thing versus like, we got to put enough stuff together to make Photoshop 2019 worth buying. And then we got to do the same thing in 2020 and then 2021. And, and it's not easy to do that, especially as these projects get more mature and, it's just trying to come up with the stuff. So this just gives you the ability to get stuff as soon as it's available. So let me hit on what the first couple new ones on there. The first is what's called live graphics. So in the Tricaster, we've had title templates, right? You're probably all familiar with them, right? You can go in, you can build titles and bring them on the screen, and that's, it's all great, but they've had their limitations. And the biggest limitation is that they're static, right? There's no animation to them. And needless to say, that's probably, if you ask people what they wish live text had, that's the one thing they want. I want animation in it. So this is the answer to that. So it's very much using it is like title templates, but the end result is they're title templates with animation. So let me just show you a few examples and show you how it works, and then I'll even show you how you kind of build one of these and stuff. So down in my buffers, these have to run in buffers, just so you know. So unlike title templates, which can run in buffers or graphics players, these have to run in buffers. So you can have up to 10 of them loaded simultaneously. And then when you go in here, I've already got 2 of them loaded. You can have different layer setups in it, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that one title is a lower third and that's it. It could be a lower third. It could be a lower third with a graphic. It could be a sidebar on the left. It could be a sidebar on the right. It could be a sidebar with a lower third. It's whatever layers you want to pull out of it. And you can have up to 16 different choices, right, that you can have set up that's a click away. So let me just bring one on to start with. I'm going to just bring on a lower third, and you can see I just brought it on the screen here with my name on there. It's got the current date on there, which I just typed in. And you can see that not only did it appear, but it animated on. It's actually got animation going going on inside it that's just looping forever, right? Until I take it off. And then when I take it off, it will nicely go off the screen as it's supposed to. And if I go to another one here, here's another one I've got, and I can bring this one on, and this one animates on. I've not programmed this one with any title information yet. Let me make this a little larger so you can see it a little better here. There we go. And so just to edit that, though, to edit it is just like to edit any other title template in here. You just, you go in, you go to the title editor. It looks just like the title editor that's in Tricaster, and I just go and I type in what I want the new information to be. And it does support data links, so this could be, the current date if I wanted to, and all that kind of stuff. So there it is. I just updated that title with the new information. It's just now there's animation in with it, right? And just to show you here, here's like a sidebar graphic. Take that one off, bring a sidebar graphic on the other side. It all knows the proper way and how the thing should animate. So you'll notice that when I go from one layout to another, everything animates correctly, right? It takes the thing off, brings the thing on. You don't see collisions of animation where, things, glitch off the screen or overlap in incorrect manners and stuff like that. So it's pretty smart, and even if I want to say, hey, bring on, in this case, I told it to bring on a graphic, right? It took off the bug, brought off the graphic. Okay, take off the graphic, put the bug back on. So, stuff like that all can be done in there. So that's in a nutshell what it is, right? It's title templates with animation in it. Now, the way you make these is we use the Adobe suite of tools, all right? So inside the Tricaster, it's playout. You're going to load these things in and you play them out. There is no, other than the title template type editing stuff, though, that's the extent of what I can do, all right? I can change the text. I can change the text. I can change a graphic and that's it. I can't change the animation. I can't change the colors, right? That's stuff that's going back into pre-production in there. So if I wanted to do that kind of stuff, let's see here. I'll switch it so that, so you can see it up there, but I got to bring the monitor back up really quick here. We need you to see.
While he's doing that, there's a little secret sauce here that's going on because we're seeing, obviously, the
there we go.
Tricaster user interface and now, of course, your desktop. So there's a little secret here.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. So this is still the UI, but over there you're seeing After Effects, right? And that's the software. So I'm going to just load in. I am not a graphics expert. I will be the first to tell you, but I just want to show you, this is what I have built so far, and it is a working thing inside. So I'll just play through it, and since it's so simple, it actually becomes, a pretty simple idea. So there is my lower third title, right? It basically is a little box. It flies on the screen. It animates over with text on it. You'll be able to edit the text anything you want. I don't have any animation in the middle because I'm just not that good yet. And then it does the reverse and takes itself off. That is my title in there. All right. And so while I've done, everything in here is 100% After Effects created stuff. It's an After Effects little graphic object I created, just using the drawing tools in After Effects. I then animated it across the screen. The text is just After Effects text on the screen, and then that will become replaceable as text inside the Tricaster. And then all you have to do is put these markers on the screen, or if I collapse this down, there we go. So there's markers. I didn't put markers on the other layer yet. Apparently I forgot to do that. But these markers define, this is the beginning. That's the starting animation. So it plays that. Then it will play from this marker to that marker over and over and over again in the loop. And then when you say take it off the screen, it plays from that marker to the end, right? That's literally all you're building in there. Is you're building 3 pieces of animation and you're putting 2 markers on it to just say, here's the beginning, the middle, and the end. So it knows where those pieces are. And then once you've built that, we have a special plugin that runs inside After Effects right here. And you would just say, get the composition data that will load what I just built into the plugin. And then once it's loaded that information in, you would hit this export live graphic, and this will export out the special format thing that we need that then goes into Tricaster. And there's kind of there's kind of a couple levels you can take this in. So, because we've tried to make it where different levels of users on there is. So the simplest level is that I could start with Photoshop and just create a Photoshop document. And in fact, without even having to use the plugin, I can load the Photoshop document right into a buffer, and the Tricaster will automatically pull out the text layers and make them editable. So if you're a Photoshop person and you're like, I just wish I could use Photoshop for my titling, done, right there. You don't need anything else. It's not animated. It's just going to be a still. But if that's what your needs are, you have it right there. The next level up is you could take that Photoshop document and you could do this import PSD option right here. And then there's all these different animations you could apply to the different layers. So you could take that Photoshop document and make it into an animated piece of media where different pieces of information fly on different ways. So it's kind of like, I don't really know how to animate, but I want something animated. And then export that out. And then the ultimate level, which is what I did, is if you're an After Effects person, build what you want in After Effects. All you got to do is set those markers in there and then export what you want out as your thing in there, and you'll have what you want. So that's how it works, right? And then it just becomes something you can use inside the system. So that is that's live graphics. I don't know if there's other questions about that. I mean, it's...
You could probably buy a template that's a lower third active template and then just add the 3 markers.
Potentially. I honestly expect that probably after this ships, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see After Effects artists start offering up packages, right? Because it's just After Effects. So if you're a good After Effects person, there you go, right? We do include about 10 templates with it.
Video blocks have stuff that
Yeah.
the in and the out. So basically, you just would put the markers in here.
Yeah, if you got some of that, you could probably adapt it pretty easily. So, yeah, exactly. So I think there'll be some of that kind of stuff. We do, like I said, we do include about 10, if I go in here, just to show you what's in the system. So here's all the live graphics that are included, and all of them include kind of a broadcast with like lower third type stuff, and then a sports, which include like scoreboards and score bugs and stuff like that. And so there's arrow, clean, concentric, flow, hexagon. I haven't counted them, but yeah, there's about 10 different live graphics packages that come in there to start with. So you are going to get some stuff out of the box, but honestly, anybody who gets it probably wants to build their own stuff. So it's more just like an idea. And the nice thing is, too, we do give you the After Effects projects of these things. So if you're trying to figure out how to do it, you can actually load up one of our sample ones of these things and see what we did. And then, then you have a better idea. Oh, this is what I have to create to try to do the same thing. So that's one of them, live graphics. Hopefully something that, for people who just need that, there's things, obviously, I know New Blue Effects is here. We've talked to them. My feeling is there's certainly some overlap, but it all depends on what your needs are. And there's definitely going to be cases where having an external CG system is the way to go. But this is good for those people where maybe they don't need to that level, but they need something more than what we had. And this gives them that kind of nice, that next step up where I can get the animation, but it's still all integrated. If I don't need the assistance of another person on there. So that's one. The next one, and this is one that has been, let me just get the IP here of the system. 10.1, well, I can just do it right here. This has actually been available, but this will become part of the premium access, is our live panel feature. If you've not seen this, this is, I think, one of the coolest add-ons you can get. So Tricaster has in it an entire web-based back end, and if anybody's maybe have seen, I've actually written my own applications that leverage that. Well, better programmers than I have gone in and basically written ones in here, and this is what they've written. So this is kind of a pre-packaged set of tools that you can just pull up. And so let me just show you some of these. The first is an audio mixer. Probably one of the most requested features that people have wanted is, how can I have a separate audio mixer for somebody to use? I can go in here now, and in fact, if I let me open up the audio mixer so you can see it here at the same time. There we go. And open the web browser. All right, there it is. So now if I grab one of these, you can see the audio meter 3 at the bottom there moving as I move that slider up and down on there on the interface. So we have an audio mixer. We have a DDR controller. So all the DDRs in the system, I could go to, let's say, DDR1. There's the clips. I want to add a new clip in there. Let's add the monorail shot. There it should be added. Oh, there it is. Just got to give it a second. I can organize the clips. I can trim the clips. So all the DDR functionality that I would want in the system has now been exposed through a web interface and allows somebody to assist and load these things up and organize my clips and trim them and load them and even manually play them if you wanted to. So, if you've got like that tape op position and you're, especially like a school, right, you want positions for different students to use, here's that tape op position, right? And you can just it's just a laptop is all they need, or a computer with a web browser in it. There's also a switcher. So if you've wanted somebody, let's see, I don't know why this is beta. So anyways, this should show you live video in there, and you could go in and, well, it is switching, right? You can see it's switching the system behind the scenes. So if I go to input 4, it just switched to input 4 in there. I don't know why some of the inputs don't seem to be showing video, but anyways, there's a switcher in here. And then in my opinion, the most powerful one, and it's probably all empty, because I cleared this out and I forgot to build anything, but there's what's called a builder app in here. And this allows you to build your own interfaces. So if you're like, man, I really wish there was a button that did this thing, you could go in here, edit this. I could say, hey, let's take this button, let's make it bigger. We'll make it a larger size button. I'll change the color of the button. Maybe this is going to be, input 1 is what I want to switch to. And then I could pick a macro in the system and it could be any macro I built or anything built into the system. So let me find the thing that will switch me to input 1. There we go. And now when I run this thing on here, you'll see there's my thing. I'll hit input 1 and you can see it just put input 1 to air on there. So you can go in and now build your own interfaces of your own buttons, doing any macros that are inside the system. Now, I don't know if in this beta it works. Let's try it. You can also make these backgrounds be live video. Whoops, not an image, a video source. Yeah, it's broken in this build. But normally this would show live video coming in there. Let me just try real quick. Whoops. Just a different input, see if that makes, okay, it's HX sources that are broken in this build. So there it is with a different source in there. So you can see it's live video showing up in the window. So you could even make an interface that literally is like, here's the video sources, click on the one you want, and it will show you that feed in there, or whatever it is you want in there. I built like I just did a thing with key code last week where I showed a PTZ control app I built, and it showed a live PTZ window of the camera 100% of the time with buttons. And so even if you couldn't see anything, you just had your panel in front of you, you could see what the camera was looking at, and as you went to presets or as you nudged the camera around, it gave you a live preview of what the camera was doing in real time, which made it, I think, fairly usable. So it could work on a tablet. It potentially could even work on a phone. All right. I mean, the more screen real estate you have, I'll say the better it is. But yeah, I mean, it's just web-based. What I haven't tried it on, but I've wanted to, is I've wanted to get one of those Samsung smart fridges with the web browser on it, because then I could just like open it up and get my water out, and then, I want somebody to try that and tell me if it works, is really what I want to know. What's that?
Give it time.
Give it time, yes. See, then your fridge could be part of your production equipment, and then So anyway, so that is another one, Live Panel. Live Panel is actually available as a separate purchase today if you wanted to get it on a TC1 system, but if you're going to get the premium access, it will be included as part of that. So that will just be kind of included as part of the suite of tools in there. The next one, and this one's a personal favorite of mine, is what's called Ndi Kvm. And I've actually been using it the entire time so far. You'll notice I'm on my laptop. I'm not on the keyboard and mouse of the system, yet you see me controlling it like I'm controlling it. That is Ndi Kvm. So let me just show you here. If you look at the side monitors in the room, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. So here is Ndi Studio Monitor running on my laptop, and just like I can with it, I can select any source that's out on the network, but if I select a source that is the interface of the system. So I can go in here and you can see there's my TC1 user interface. Not only can I see it and get a real-time video preview of what's going on in there, I can fully interact with it as well. So I can go in here and you can see I can grab parts of the interface, I can switch and all that kind of stuff. So this is not intended necessarily for internet level sharing, but on a local network, you know, man, I really wish I could just, you know, pull up the interface. The Tricaster's in a separate room. Hey, our studio's under construction, but if we could just set up in here temporarily, we could still use it or something like. That's where this really could shine. So, or hey, I'm building live graphics. My graphics person is on a different floor than what the production studio is, and for every time they want to test the graphic they made, they'd have to walk downstairs, load it on there, and then realize, oh, I made this mistake, and then now they could just pull up the interface and literally do it all like while they're sitting with After Effects right next to them. Oh, I just messed up that. Okay, let me go quick and export it again, try it again. So it could really streamline some of those things. So that's in a nutshell what it is in here. This will give you full 30 frame per second previews in here, and it is not limited to the Tricaster UI. This works all the way down into Windows. So I can exit out of the Tricaster. I can go into Windows. I could do anything in Windows if I wanted to. It's literally, you know, system-wide access in here. And you can set up a separate NDI group for this access, so it does not have to be the same group that everybody else would see. And that's actually what I did on mine, is I set up a special group that only the user interface shows up on. So on any other machine on our network here, if Fritz went into his other room and pulled up his NDI monitor, unless that machine had been added to the group, and I haven't told you what the group is, although you might be able to guess it as it wasn't very hard, he would not see it, and then he wouldn't be able to control it. And then, but you know, you could add yourself to the group for anybody who would need to see it. So it gives you some levels to kind of set some security. You can also choose as well, just on a global access, global point of what kind of level of access. You can turn this off if you don't want it. You could set it to view only. If all you want is for people to view, you could just say, hey, you can see what's going on, but you can't control, or you can set it up for control. And this is not limited to the main UI. This will work for all the multi-viewers as well. So that's another thing people have asked for is, I really wish if I had, you know, 2 other multi-viewers in my Tricaster, that they could be available as NDI feeds, that anybody else in the network could pull up and see the multi-view. You'd be able to do that. So all of that is in there. So to me, this is a very cool technology. This actually came out of, just to kind of get a little bit of the history of where this came from, NewTek is working on a thing called NVP, NewTek Virtualized Products. We actually have a couple places that are beta sites that are running this, where they basically have a entirely virtualized Tricaster. The entire thing is running in software. There is no hardware, right? Well, there's hardware, but the hardware is just a virtual Cisco high-end virtualized thing, you know, running servers and stuff like that. And well, the problem is we had a Tricaster running in it, but the video preview through the virtualized system was horrible. It was like a couple frames a second. Well, we're trying to do video, and if I only can see a couple frames a second, what good is that? So we realized that we had to fix that. So we literally wrote a software KVM in NDI that allows you to get 30 frames per second. So inside, I can now get real-time video preview of what's going on inside that virtual machine. So, and then from that, it's turned into, hey, we could put this in all products because other people could use this too. So, kind of a cool thing. So that is that feature, and then the last couple in here. This next one is kind of specialized, but for some people this could be huge. And that is what's called our Advanced Audio I/O. So one of the things, I'll stand up here again for a moment. One of the things that's been in Tricaster, and I'll be the first to say, like, I mean, for those of you who have a Tricaster here, how many of you have an external audio mixer? Almost everybody, right? I mean, very few people use the audio mixer in our system. And I get it, right? And it's not that the mixer is not powerful enough. It's just an external mixer is easier to use. It probably has maybe some features that you do need. You might have a separate person, right? And they want, I get it, they want that. So the answer's always been, well, what can we do to make our audio mixer more accessible? And a lot of people will say, well, give me a control surface, right? Like that Avid Artist Mix thing. okay, which we did support. We still technically support, but I think Avid Avid's stopped building those, I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. And they weren't cheap. They were like over $1,000, so it's kind of an expensive solution. And that's, to be honest, the big problem, right? An audio control surface with the motorized faders is not cheap. They're expensive. And I bet I could go to every single person's room and say, well, what do you need that motorized control surface to have? And you'd all give me different answers on how many sliders it should have and what kind of capabilities and, all these things, right? And so we couldn't even build one or maybe even two that would satisfy most of you because you'd all have different needs. So we realized, to be honest, that's not the answer either, right? That's maybe for a few people an answer, but for most people, they're still going to be like, I'm just going to use an audio mixer. Audio mixer is like $200, and I'm done. Well, that's where this comes in. Now, I mean, this is not going to be the $200 audio mixer, but a lot of people, especially when you get into these slightly larger configs, are moving to IP-based audio solutions, right? Now, I'm not talking NDI in this case. There's Dante, there's AES-67, there's Wheatstone, there's all these other IP audio formats that are out there. I'm not saying that's the only way to use this, but I think that is who this is primarily probably going to appeal to off the bat. And so effectively, what this new feature allows you to do is use our mixer as basically as a bridge where I could take sources coming into the Tricaster, flip them into other IP audio formats, and then hook it into an IP audio mixer. Let's say a Dante one. So for example, I've got 4 SDI connectors on the back, and I would like to say, well, I want the audio that's on all 4 of those SDI connectors. I want them in my Dante audio mixer as 4 sliders, right? And then I can adjust the levels. So I could go into any of these inputs, like input 1, go to my routing tab, and at the bottom, there'll be this supplementary audio device. This is what shows up. And I don't have a Dante driver on there, but if I did, Dante would show up in this list, and I could say, route that SDI incoming audio out as Dante 1 and 2. And let's take the next one and route it out as 3 and 4 and the next one. And in fact, another one, how many people have wanted their DDRs as individual audio sources on their mixer, independent of everything else, right? Probably everybody. Well, you could go into the DDRs, same thing. Route that audio out as another output. Now, it is not limited to IP audio formats. So, for example, if you wanted it on the DDRs, let's say, hey, the DDRs are all I really need it on. I'm be happy with that. You could get a professional USB audio interface like you use with Pro Tools or any of the major audio systems out there. There's tons of choices out there, right? And they're anywhere from very inexpensive to more expensive depending on what your needs are. You could hook that into the system. That would show up as new audio devices, and I could route my DDRs out as analog outs out of those audio interfaces and then run them into my analog mixer and now have my DDRs completely independently controllable versus trying to route it through the analog outputs that are on here, which there's not enough of them to really do independent audio out on each one of those kind of things. So hopefully it kind of shows you the idea that we went with is instead of making it, well, let's try to come up with something and see who we can make happy. It's like, let's make it where you could really take an audio mixer and the Tricaster and we could tie them together very tightly so that you could get the kind of functionality you need and your audio guy can still pick what he would like to use. Because let's face it, for those people who know audio guys, right, they're kind of like picky, right? They know what they want and they know what they don't want. And when they want what they want, they want what they want, right? And so let's let them use what they want, and then they can all put together. So that's not everybody needs it, but for those people who do, I think this will be a huge enhancement. The last couple things that are part of Premium Access, I don't think it's in this build, because this build's about a month old. But let's see here, because that one's actually not a. Let's see if this one has it. Yeah, it's not in here. One of the things that's supposed to be in here, or that will be part of it, is so we every input. But actually, this will be a part of the free software. I forgot to mention this. Every input in the new next version will support PTZ. Before, we only support up to 8 PTZ cameras. So if you had a 16 input system, you can only do 8 controllable cameras. In the new build, with the free software, you'll be able to control 16 if you wanted to. But the other thing then that will be added as a premium access feature is also pan and scan support. So if you think of the things where I want to bring a 4K image in, and then I want to extract out a section of that 4K image to give me like, multiple views of it, right? A full, close-ups and stuff, that will be part of premium access. So you'll be able to basically take like off of one of our Connect Sparks when it ships, hopefully in another month or so, you could pull that into multiple inputs. Hey, here's my full screen view. Here's a close-up of this person. Here's a close-up of that person. And now off that one shot, I've got 3 or 4 shots that I'm working with that I can cut between and stuff. So that will be in there, but this build I'm running on unfortunately doesn't have it in there yet. And then the last thing we are including is if you get premium access, all of the additional virtual sets and audio, right? If you go to our store, there's about 10 additional virtual sets you can purchase, and there's also an audio library of music that you can purchase if you want. That will all be part of it as well. So that actually give you about 10 more virtual sets, about, 50 pieces of music, that's royalty free. You can use your own stuff in there. That's just, thrown in as part of the package as well. So hopefully this gives you an idea of kind of some of the new stuff coming. I don't know, as I mentioned, which of these might come to Advanced Edition. I don't even know when that will be. I just know that Andrew had said that Advanced Edition will be getting stuff. So some of this that you might, I don't think anything that's premium access, I wouldn't expect any of that, but anything of the other stuff or stuff that's already in a TC1, potentially some of that could come in there. And that can be stuff like, I think one that it might be, because I asked, because we had a guy at NAB asked, is the dual channel streaming. He kind of made it sound like that probably would be in there. But I don't know if a Skype will be, or obviously some of the things that are more hardware limitations, like 3G SDI. Well, the hardware in the previous system's not 3G SDI capable, so that's not something that can just be fixed by software. But again, some of the other stuff you might see.